College life is a whirlwind of new experiences, unexpected challenges, and sometimes the most frustrating roommate situations imaginable. That's exactly where our story begins, in a modest dorm room on the third floor of Thompson Hall at Westlake University. The hallways buzzed with the energy of hundreds of students navigating their college journey, some confidently striding toward their futures, others barely making it to morning classes. But in room 317, a particularly interesting dynamic was unfolding between two very different individuals thrown together by the random lottery of college housing assignments. Alex Chin was the epitome of organization and discipline. A freshman with ambitions of graduating with honors in English literature, Alex approached college with a meticulously planned schedule. Every morning began precisely at 6:30 a.m. with a carefully curated playlist of classical music, followed by a 15-minute meditation session, a quick shower, and exactly 30 minutes for breakfast while reviewing notes for the day's classes. Even Alex's desk reflected this orderly nature, color-coded notebooks stacked by subject, pens arranged by ink color, and a calendar with deadlines highlighted in various shades depending on their importance. For Alex, structure wasn't just a preference, it was a necessity for managing anxiety and staying on top of a challenging course load. Then there was Jamie Rodriguez, a sophomore transfer student majoring in communications with a minor in theater arts. Jamie approached life with a refreshing spontaneity that many found charming, many except for Alex, that is. Jamie's side of the room was a creative chaos of theater scripts, colorful clothing draped over chairs, and walls plastered with posters from obscure indie bands. Most frustratingly for Alex, Jamie had a morning routine that could only be described as non-existent. The most consistent element was the inevitable series of alarm snoozes that would echo through their shared space every morning, sometimes for up to an hour before Jamie would finally emerge from beneath a mountain of blankets with tousled hair and a sleepy grin. The contrast between them couldn't have been more stark. Alex preferred quiet evenings with a good book, while Jamie thrived in social gatherings that lasted until the early hours of the morning. Alex planned meals for the week every Sunday, while Jamie survived on a diet of spontaneous takeout and dining hall adventures. Despite their differences, they had managed to establish a fragile ecosystem of coexistence during their first month as roommates. That is, until the morning that would eventually change everything between them. It was a Tuesday in October, and Alex had been up since 6:30 as usual, already showered and halfway through breakfast when Jamie's first alarm went off at 7:15. Alex glanced at Jamie's sleeping form, knowing exactly what would follow. Sure enough, a hand emerged from the blanket cocoon, blindly slapping at the phone until the alarm stopped, only to repeat the process 5 minutes later. And then again, and again. Jamie, Alex called after the fourth snooze. Your contemporary media analysis class is at 8:30. You're going to be late again. A muffled groan came from beneath the covers. 5 more minutes. I can get ready in 10. Alex sighed, returning to highlighting important passages in a dog-eared copy of Pride and Prejudice. This was a familiar dance, one that played out nearly every morning. The problem wasn't just the disruption to Alex's carefully cultivated morning peace. It was watching someone with so much potential consistently start their day in a state of chaos and rush. When the alarm blared for the 6th time, Alex's patience finally snapped. Jamie, it's nearly 8 o'clock. Jamie bolted upright, hair sticking out in all directions, eyes wide with panic. What? No way. Grabbing the phone and seeing the time, Jamie let out a colorful string of curses that would have impressed a sailor. Why didn't you wake me up earlier? I tried, Alex replied, the frustration evident in every syllable. 4 times, actually. You said 5 more minutes every single time. What followed was a whirlwind of activity that Alex observed with a mixture of annoyance and reluctant amusement. Jamie hopped around the room, pulling on jeans while simultaneously brushing teeth, then spitting into the small sink in their room before yanking a wrinkled t-shirt over damp hair. No time for breakfast, no time to properly pack a bag. Jamie simply grabbed the nearest notebook and a pen that happened to be on the floor. How do I look? Jamie asked, pausing briefly at the door. Despite the chaos, there was something undeniably charming about Jamie's disheveled appearance. The slightly crooked smile, the genuine look of hope in those warm brown eyes, the way one side of the collar stuck up awkwardly. Your shirt is inside out, Alex pointed out, trying to maintain a stern expression. Jamie looked down, groaned, and quickly fixed it without bothering to fully remove the shirt. Better. Marginally. You're still going to be late. Worth it for the extra sleep. Jamie called over one shoulder, already dashing down the hallway. Alex shook their head, returning to the highlighted text, but finding it difficult to concentrate. This wasn't just about different morning routines. It was about responsibility, respect for shared spaces, and most importantly, how Jamie's habits were beginning to affect Alex's own carefully maintained schedule. Just last week, after a particularly disruptive morning of alarm snoozing, Alex had been too frazzled to properly focus during an important literature seminar, missing key points in the discussion of Chaucer that later appeared on a pop quiz. Let me explain why this matters so much to Alex. College wasn't just about education. It represented freedom from a chaotic home life where nothing was predictable. Growing up with parents whose volatile relationship created an atmosphere of constant uncertainty, Alex had learned that creating structure was the only way to find stability. Each color-coded notebook, each carefully timed morning routine, was a small act of creating the order that had been absent for so long. Jamie's carefree approach to life wasn't just annoying, it was unconsciously threatening the safety that Alex had worked so hard to build. Later that evening, Alex returned to the dorm room after a long day of classes and a 2-hour study session at the library, expecting to find the room empty. Jamie usually had theater rehearsals on Tuesday evenings. Instead, Alex opened the door to find Jamie sitting cross-legged on the bed, surrounded by textbooks and looking uncharacteristically serious. "Hey," Jamie said, glancing up with a sheepish expression. "So, funny story. Remember how my shirt was inside out this morning?" Alex nodded, setting down a heavy backpack and slipping off shoes that had been pinching all day. "Well, turns out I grabbed the wrong notebook too. Showed up to contemporary media analysis with my theater history notes." Jamie laughed, but it didn't quite reach the eyes. Professor Winters was not impressed, especially since I was 15 minutes late. "She's making me write an extra analysis paper to make up for my consistent lack of preparation and punctuality." "That's rough," Alex replied, feeling a complex mix of sympathy and vindication. "Maybe this will be the wake-up call you need." "Literally." Jamie sighed dramatically, flopping back on the bed. I know. I'm a disaster in the mornings. My mom always said I'd sleep through the apocalypse." Then, sitting up again with sudden energy, "But hey, I brought you something as a peace offering for all the alarm snoozing." From beside the bed, Jamie produced a paper bag that Alex hadn't noticed before. Inside was a blueberry muffin from the campus bakery, Alex's favorite guilty pleasure, a fact mentioned only once in passing conversation weeks ago. "You remembered," Alex said, genuinely touched by the thoughtful gesture. "Of course I did. I may be a chaotic mess, but I do pay attention." Jamie's smile was warm, creating a flutter in Alex's chest that was becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. "Besides, I feel bad that my morning disaster routine is messing with your Zen master schedule." This small moment of acknowledgement shifted something between them. For the first time, Alex saw that Jamie wasn't oblivious to the impact of the morning chaos, just struggling to change ingrained habits. And Jamie, watching Alex carefully savor each bite of the muffin, began to understand just how much those quiet, orderly mornings meant to a roommate who found peace in routine. The following weeks brought small adjustments. Jamie started setting fewer alarms and made genuine attempts to get up after the second or third snooze. Alex, in turn, became slightly more flexible, occasionally staying up later than usual to help Jamie run lines for an upcoming theater production or to watch a documentary that Jamie insisted was absolutely life-changing for a media class. Their contrasting approaches to life created friction, certainly, but also sparked interesting conversations. Jamie challenged Alex to be more spontaneous, while Alex helped Jamie develop systems to keep track of assignments and deadlines. They were finding a rhythm, imperfect but workable, until midterm season descended upon campus like a stress-inducing fog. For Alex, midterms meant even more rigid scheduling, with color-coded study guides and precisely timed review sessions. For Jamie, it meant late nights fueled by energy drinks and frantic cramming. The delicate balance they had established began to crack under the pressure. The breaking point came on a Wednesday night, or more accurately, Thursday morning at 2 a.m. Alex had gone to bed at the usual time of 10:30. Knowing that a full night's sleep was crucial for optimal cognitive function during tomorrow's British literature midterm. Jamie, however, was in the midst of preparing for a communications presentation and had transformed their shared room into what looked like a paper tornado. Alex woke to the sound of Jamie pacing the small space between their beds, muttering lines from a presentation while gesticulating wildly. The desk lamp was on, casting long shadows across the room, and every surface was covered with note cards and printed articles. "Jamie," Alex mumbled, voice thick with interrupted sleep. "It's 2 a.m. I have an exam at 9 tomorrow. Sorry, Jamie whispered, though the whisper was hardly quieter than regular speaking. I'm almost done. Just need to nail this conclusion. Professor Winters already thinks I'm a flake after the notebook incident, and this presentation is worth 30% of our grade. Alex sat up, fully awake now and increasingly frustrated. You've had 2 weeks to prepare for this. Why is it always a last-minute crisis with you? Jamie stopped pacing, looking hurt. That's not fair. I've been working on this for days. Just because I don't schedule my life in 15-minute increments doesn't mean I don't take my work seriously. Could have fooled me, Alex snapped, immediately regretting the harshness but too tired and stressed to take it back. The room fell silent, thick with tension. Jamie gathered the scattered note cards without a word, turned off the desk lamp, and climbed into bed, facing the wall. Alex lay back down, staring at the ceiling, feeling simultaneously justified and terrible. Sleep didn't come easily for either of them that night. The following morning, Alex woke to find Jamie already gone, a first in their months of living together. On Alex's desk was a sticky note with a simple message: "Good luck on your exam. Sorry about last night. Jay." The gesture should have been comforting, but it only amplified Alex's guilt. The British literature exam went poorly, with Alex struggling to focus on Wordsworth and Coleridge while replaying the argument in their head. By the time evening came around, Alex was determined to make things right, waiting anxiously for Jamie to return from the dreaded presentation. When the door finally opened, Alex looked up expectantly. How did it go? Jamie's expression was unreadable for a moment before breaking into a wide grin. I nailed it. Winters actually smiled. I didn't even know her face could do that. She said my analysis of media framing and political coverage was surprisingly insightful. That's amazing, Alex said, genuinely happy for Jamie despite their own disappointing exam performance. I knew you could do it. Did you, though? Jamie asked quietly, the smile fading. Because last night it seemed like you thought I was just an irresponsible mess who doesn't care about anything. And there it was, the real issue bubbling beneath the surface of their roommate tensions. It wasn't just about morning alarms or study habits. It was about respect, about seeing the value in different approaches to life. I don't think that, Alex said carefully. I just get frustrated sometimes because we're so different. And I took it out on you when I was tired and stressed. I'm sorry. Jamie sat down on the edge of Alex's bed, closer than they usually position themselves. I know I drive you crazy with the whole snooze button addiction. And the chaos. A gesture encompassed Jamie's admittedly messy side of the room. But I'm trying. It's just, my brain doesn't work the way yours does. Never has. What do you mean? Alex asked, noticing for the first time the vulnerability in Jamie's usually confident expression. I have ADHD, Jamie explained. Diagnosed in high school. The meds help with focus during the day, but they wear off by evening, and mornings have always been my nemesis. My brain just refuses to function before 9 a.m., no matter how many alarms I set. This revelation shifted Alex's perspective entirely. What had seemed like carelessness or lack of discipline was actually Jamie battling against neurological wiring every single morning. You never mentioned it before, Alex said softly. Jamie shrugged. I don't like using it as an excuse. And honestly, I was embarrassed. You're so together all the time, with your color coding and your perfect schedule. I didn't want you to think I was using it as a reason to be a bad roommate. The conversation lasted well into the night, both of them sharing pieces of themselves they had kept hidden. Alex explained the childhood chaos that had created such a need for structure and routine. Jamie talked about years of being labeled lazy or unmotivated before the ADHD diagnosis provided context for the struggles with time management and organization. Something shifted between them that night, a deeper understanding that transformed their relationship from reluctant roommates to genuine friends. The following weeks brought more changes. Alex helped Jamie develop a modified morning routine that accounted for the difficulty waking up, including setting out clothes and packing bags the night before. Jamie, in turn, became more mindful of shared space and began using headphones for late-night study sessions. Their academic differences even proved complementary at times. Alex's methodical approach to analyzing literature helped Jamie prepare for a challenging comparative essay, while Jamie's creative thinking provided fresh perspectives for Alex's sometimes too structured literary interpretations. As the semester progressed, they fell into a comfortable rhythm, their contrasting personalities creating a balance rather than a conflict. Movie nights became a regular occurrence, with Alex introducing Jamie to classic films while Jamie ensured Alex experienced the latest indie darlings. They discovered a shared love of Thai food and terrible reality TV shows that became their Sunday evening tradition. What neither of them acknowledged, at least not out loud, was the growing undercurrent of attraction between them. It manifested in lingering glances, in the way Jamie would bring Alex coffee during late study sessions, and how Alex would save the last piece of pizza from group orders because it was Jamie's favorite. Their friends noticed, exchanging knowing looks when Jamie would dramatically drape across Alex's lap during game nights, or when Alex would absent-mindedly fix Jamie's perpetually crooked collar before presentations. The pivotal moment came during finals week, when stress levels across campus reached their peak. Alex had been studying for a comprehensive English literature exam for days, barely sleeping and subsisting mainly on coffee and granola bars. Jamie, concerned by this unhealthy pattern, staged an intervention. "Okay, that's it," Jamie announced, closing Alex's textbook with gentle firmness. "You need a break before your brain turns to literary mush." Alex protested weakly, "I still have 3 more chapters to review. And they'll still be there after you've had actual food and at least 2 hours away from Shakespearean tragedy," Jamie insisted, already pulling Alex up from the desk chair. "The dining hall closed hours ago, but I know a place off campus that makes amazing pancakes 24/7. Too exhausted to argue, Alex allowed Jamie to lead the way to a small diner just beyond the university boundaries. The place was nearly empty at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday, just a few other students with the same desperate, finals week look in their eyes, hunched over laptops while nursing cups of coffee. They slid into a booth by the window, and Jamie ordered for both of them, chocolate chip pancakes for Jamie, blueberry for Alex, and a side of crispy bacon to share. As they waited for their food, Jamie reached across the table and gently took Alex's hand. "You know, you're allowed to take breaks. The world won't end if you're not perfect all the time." Alex stared at their joined hands, a warmth spreading that had nothing to do with the diner's heating system. "That's easy for you to say. You thrive under pressure." "I create the pressure," Jamie corrected. "There's a difference. You put so much pressure on yourself to be perfect that you don't leave room for anything else, including sleep, apparently." The observation was uncomfortably accurate. Alex had spent so long equating structure with safety that deviating from the plan, even for necessary rest, felt dangerous. "I'm scared," Alex admitted quietly. "If I let go of control, even a little bit, the sky might fall?" Jamie suggested with a gentle smile. "Or you might discover that you can be brilliant without burning yourself out." Their pancakes arrived, steam rising invitingly from the plates. As they ate, the conversation shifted to lighter topics, their plans for winter break, a particularly eccentric professor they both adored, the campus squirrel that had achieved celebrity status for its habit of stealing entire sandwiches from unsuspecting students. By the time they left the diner, Alex felt more relaxed than at any point during the past week. The night air was crisp, stars visible despite the campus lights in the distance. They walked slowly, neither in a hurry to return to the stress awaiting them in their dorm room. "Thank you," Alex said as they approached their building. "I needed this more than I realized." Jamie smiled, that crooked, genuine smile that never failed to create butterflies in Alex's stomach. "That's what friends are for." Friends. The word felt simultaneously true and insufficient for what had developed between them. Back in their room, Alex returned to studying with renewed focus, while Jamie tackled a final paper for communications ethics. They worked in comfortable silence until Alex noticed Jamie fighting to keep eyes open, head nodding forward only to jerk back up moments later. "You should sleep," Alex said softly. "Your paper looks done to me." Jamie yawned widely. "Almost. Just need to proofread, but my eyes aren't cooperating." With a dramatic sigh, Jamie saved the document and shut down the laptop. "Wake me in an hour? I'll finish it then." Alex nodded, knowing full well that no such wake-up call would be happening. Jamie needed sleep more than last-minute editing on what already looked like a solid paper. As expected, Jamie fell asleep almost instantly, breathing deep and even. Alex continued studying for another hour before finally giving in to exhaustion as well. Setting an alarm for 6:30 a.m., their usual wake-up time, Alex turned off the desk lamp and crawled into bed. Morning came with the familiar chime of Alex's alarm. After silencing it quickly, Alex lay still for a moment, mentally preparing for the day's final exam. From across the room came the sound of Jamie's steady breathing, still deep in sleep. For once, Alex decided not to issue the usual wake-up reminder, knowing Jamie's first class wasn't until later. Alex had just finished dressing when an unexpected sound broke the morning quiet, Jamie's alarm. Even more surprising was that Jamie actually reached for the phone and turned it off without hitting snooze, sitting up with a yawn. "You're awake," Alex observed, unable to hide the shock. "Voluntarily. Before 8 a.m. Jamie smiled sleepily, hair sticking up in all directions. "Miracles do happen. I wanted to wish you good luck on your final before you left." The thoughtfulness of the gesture warmed Alex more than the morning coffee already in hand. "That's really sweet of you." "I can be sweet sometimes," Jamie said, stretching before getting out of bed. "Especially for people who matter to me." There was something different in Jamie's tone, a seriousness beneath the casual words that made Alex's heart beat a little faster. Before Alex could respond, Jamie continued. "You know, I've been thinking about something. This whole semester, you've been trying to help me become more organized, more punctual, basically more like you. And I've been trying to get you to loosen up a bit, be more spontaneous." "We're a regular odd couple," Alex agreed with a small smile. "But what if?" Jamie paused, suddenly looking nervous. "What if instead of just being roommates who balance each other out, we tried something else? Something more?" The question hung in the air between them, Jamie's vulnerability plain to see. Alex's carefully planned day, with its scheduled review sessions and precisely timed meals, suddenly seemed insignificant compared to this moment. "Are you asking what I think you're asking?" Alex managed to say, heart pounding. Jamie took a deep breath and crossed the small space between their beds, stopping directly in front of Alex. "I'm asking if you'd consider waking up with me, not just as roommates sharing a space, but together. For good. Or at least, for as long as you can stand my alarm snoozing habits." The directness was so typically Jamie, straightforward, a little dramatic, but absolutely sincere. Alex looked into those warm brown eyes that had gone from an irritation to a comfort over the past months. "What about all our differences?" Alex asked, practical even in this emotionally charged moment. "You thrive in chaos. I need order. You're spontaneous. I plan everything. And yet somehow, we work," Jamie said simply. "You make me better, more grounded. And I hope, that I help you remember to enjoy life beyond your schedules and plans. We're different, but maybe that's exactly why we fit." In that moment, Alex realized that Jamie was right. Their differences weren't obstacles, they were complementary pieces that created something stronger together. The structure Alex provided gave Jamie a framework to channel creative energy more effectively. The spontaneity Jamie brought into Alex's life added color and unexpected joy to what had once been a rigidly monochrome existence. "Yes," Alex said finally, a smile spreading slowly. "I'd like that. To wake up together. For good." Jamie's face lit up with a brilliant smile before leaning in to close the distance between them. Their first kiss was gentle, a tentative exploration that quickly deepened into something more certain. When they finally pulled apart, both slightly breathless, Jamie rested their foreheads together. "I should warn you," Jamie whispered. "I'm even worse at getting out of bed when there's a cute person to cuddle with." Alex laughed, feeling lighter than ever before. "I suspected as much. I'll just have to find more creative ways to get you moving in the mornings." "Is that a promise?" Jamie asked with a playful wiggle of eyebrows. "It's a plan," Alex replied, glancing at the clock and reluctantly stepping back. "But right now, I have a final to ace. We'll discuss morning motivation techniques when I get back." Jamie nodded, reaching out to straighten Alex's collar in a reversal of their usual dynamic. "Go show them how brilliant you are. I'll be here when you're done." As Alex headed to the final exam, the usual pretest anxiety was still present, but it was overshadowed by a new feeling, a warm certainty that regardless of the test outcome, something wonderful was waiting back in room 317. The semester had begun with frustration over a roommate who couldn't stop hitting the snooze button, and now Alex couldn't wait to wake up beside that same person every morning. The journey from reluctant roommates to something more had been unexpected, filled with clashes and compromises, moments of frustration and surprising tenderness. Their story was just beginning, with plenty of challenges ahead: how to navigate their different social circles, what would happen during breaks and holidays, how to balance Alex's need for quiet study time with Jamie's more collaborative approach to learning. But as Alex walked across the quad that morning, one thing was certain: life with Jamie would never be boring. There would be alarm clocks set and snooze buttons hit, color-coded schedules and spontaneous midnight adventures. There would be structure and chaos, planning and improvisation. Most importantly, there would be growth, as each of them learned from the other, creating a balance that neither could achieve alone. Sometimes the most unlikely roommate pairings become the most perfect partnerships. And sometimes, The most annoying morning habit leads to the sweetest beginning. For Alex and Jamie, it all started with a snooze button and ended with a promise to wake up together, for good. Total _char_count, 18,893.